Greetings and welcome back to MTG Profits. We are recording episode 4, and my name is Devin, and I'm joined by Andy.
Hi, everybody.
And this is a podcast about Magic the Gathering, and our primary focus is about buying and selling cards, making a profit on that transaction, how that's done, our selections regarding those cards, and also general Magic news as well, so we get a little bit of, hopefully, topics of interest, and that's kind of what we're all about.
Yeah,
so
that sums it up, and I think we've got several things in the news to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to try and another thing we discussed a little bit earlier was we're going to try to keep it a little bit short and sweet and maybe not get as rambly as we sometimes can get. So we're going to try to tighten it up a little bit and see how it goes. We do have a couple of news bits today, and did you want to talk about your news item, Andy, or you want me to fire it up?
Sure, I can go first here. One thing that's been in the news lately, as regards the tournament scene, and there's always tournaments going on. It seems like there's a tournament every month for some sort of Magic event. There was one recently in Las Vegas. I believe it was a Grand Prix?
Might be Worlds.
I think it was Worlds. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
It was Worlds. And something unusual happened at this tournament. One of the pro Magic players, Gary Thompson, ended up protesting the tournament, and he is a two-time winner of Magic's Grand Prix, and he had earned first place at a pro tour. And he protested this Grand Prix in Vegas and didn't compete. And he was protesting it because he felt that the Magic pros should be better compensated for their role for playing the game. So there's a lot of debate on, is this true? Should they be paid more? This is something that definitely the pros and the community have a lot of opinions on.
Yeah, I think so. And I think some of his reasons were, did he list any of the reasons? I'm sure he must have.
He did have a statement. I mean, he wanted to know that that the player base cares about these issues and they're going to sacrifice things. I think he felt that they just weren't compensated for what they did.
I think that's probably true. I think Wizards kind of goes back and forth on this a lot. I think they kind of have a love-hate relationship with the Pro Tour in general. A lot of people consider the Pro Tour to be like a professional Magic League or a professional tour, but it's actually, as far as Wizards is concerned, more of a promotional tool that they use to promote standard play. Standard
Sure.
is the cards that Wizards wants to sell. They want you cracking packs, and Standard is the way to do that. So they really want to promote Standard play. And I think, at one point, if I recall, it was a year or two ago, they had decided to pull the plug on the Pro Tour, I think. And I don't remember all the details there, but I do remember there was a decent amount of backlash, and they sort of changed their mind and kept it. And they wanted to essentially stop paying all prizes for Pro Tour, and I think they realized that swiftly that was not well received. So I think they'd like to get rid of it if they could, but I think they have a hard time getting rid of it. So they take a bit of a half-assed approach to the Pro Tour. I think they probably don't compensate. It's like if you don't take first place, you're not really coming away with any prize of value.
Exactly. You really have to be in the top to really make any money at it.
Yeah.
I think in this one the prize pool was like $300,000, but the only number one made $100,000.
Okay.
And the rest was divvied up from there, I think.
Yeah, it's like the top 16 or something, and then not even. I think there's not a lot of money to be made here. I don't think it's, I think if they want to have a promotional tour, they should have a promotional tour. They should fund it appropriately. Give people that want to play the game at the highest levels, give them a goal to reach for. And, because then at that rate you would have, teams of players really dedicated, and they would take the time, take the effort to be the best, because they could actually potentially do that as their job.
Sure.
You have a lot of other games like, even like video games and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you have these, Overwatch players, and you have like League of Legends players. You have these teams, like these guys, like that is their job. They aspire to be the best, and by the time they are the best, they are actually compensated for being the best, and they can actually, and that sort of seems to work for them. It's relatively cheap advertising, as far as advertising costs go. You have this, promotional tour of professional players, and these guys, make, good money for what they do, but it doesn't really cost the company all that much money. So they,
I think it's probably a pretty good deal for them. And I mean, that's where my mind went too. As soon as you started talking, about the pros and Magic is to compare it now to what really seems to be a rise in all these esports, especially like Overwatch and League of Legends and these other ones. And they're getting so much more attention with their tournaments and big prize payouts for those. It seems like playing Magic would almost be something that would be, deserve equal payouts, being...
You would think, like an established game.
More established. It's I would almost argue more challenging, more difficult, because there's a little more mental play at work.
It's definitely more complicated and than something like Hearthstone or things of that nature.
Yeah.
Although I think in some cases, these esports are fantastic, but I do think that sometimes the Magic is a little boring to watch. I think it's really tough to watch that.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here, in all honesty, I'm not going to sit here and watch people play Magic. It's a great game to play, but it's terrible to watch.
Yeah, honestly, I can't say I've sat down and maybe watched a whole match of Magic. I might have watched highlights here and there, but not like a whole tournament or maybe I'd watch a certain match that was the final or something, but otherwise,
even that, I totally agree. It's not like something that's exciting to watch. It's like the cards are hard to see. And that's another thing. Like they should, if Wizards wants to do that, they should do it well. They should have commentators that know the game, that describe what's happening and what the player is doing. You should be able to see what the player's cards are, not like from the a picture taken from the freaking satellite where you can't even see what the cards are. I don't know if you've ever watched some of these streams, but you can't even tell what the cards are in these guys' hands unless I mean. They should have a nice zoom in of each guy's hand, side by side, so you can look at what these guys have in their hands, and you can kind of go through the process as a Magic player.
Sure.
You're seeing these things from so far away. It's really tough. It's almost like if you were going to watch a sport I don't know, take your pick, hockey or baseball,
sure,
but the ball is so small you can't even see where it is.
Yeah.
Who wants to watch that?
Yeah.
All your
jumbotrons. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's the same thing for Magic. At least that's my impression. It's I love the game. I've been playing it forever. And even I'm sitting here looking at these guys. I'm like, what the hell card is he holding? I can't even see what it is. It's a red card. Yeah. So they could, production value is so bad. Wizards should do such a better job on that.
You'd think they would have had that all pretty down by now. And I think maybe to some end, too, a lot of the other companies have that down. Like Star City, I mean, I know they do a lot of production and recordings of these things. And...
it's really sad. They do such a better job, and they're not Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast has Hasbro behind them. They have the money. They have the wherewithal. They have the ability to advertise in this fashion, and they don't do as good a job as some of these third-party, sellers or purveyors of cards, which is really kind of sad when you think about it.
I guess another thing too makes me think is these tournaments. I guess the payout is exclusively funded by Wizards of the Coast. Is that?
I believe it is. Yeah.
But is the tournament itself actually hosted by Wizards of the Coast?
It is, I think, in these cases.
In these cases, I know. Because I know it seems like for a number of the Grand Prix, especially the ones that we've been at, it was a third party that actually hosted the tournament.
Yeah, that is correct. The GPs are usually, Wizards will contract that out. So I think, for example, Channel Fireball has all the GPs now or some such. And So Channel Fireball they rent the location, they order all the product, they sell vendor space, they essentially run the entire process. And and I think they are responsible for the prize payout and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So, they get the judges. So Wizards doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot when it comes to the GP, but I think for Worlds where they have invites and things of that nature, Wizards is actually footing the bill for the prize money on that one. Okay. But, the thing about the prize money is I think Wizards is thinking, it's a slippery slope. If we start paying big payouts to these guys, they're going to want more and more. And
Sure.
where does it stop? I understand that, but I think they're not seeing the big picture, because if there was enough of a following, if people were interested enough, what would happen is you would get outside sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
You'd get, for example, if you had like a famous player, or
Sure.
These top end players, Ultra Pro might sponsor them if they played with their Ultra Pro sleeves, or or like a play mat or something. Take your pick.
Sure.
It could be sleeves. It could be clothing. The guy could be wearing who knows? He could be wearing some logo, some hat or something. I don't know. But
Sure.
I mean, you could have sponsors, that would come out of the woodwork. Wizards wouldn't necessarily have to pay all these people, as long as there was a venue for them to compete at a high level and get eyeballs on these guys.
Yeah.
Then they would be, their sponsors would pop up.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. I think, I guess going back to Thompson and his comments, one of the other things he said was that they don't pay professional players a living wage. If the goal is to play on the Pro Tour, you should be something to make it worth achieving that.
Yeah, and I don't know that
lack of reward at the top.
Yeah, and I don't think it's Wizards' job to pay anybody's wage or any of that. I think they do need to make the prize useful and meaningful, and not just to one or two guys that take the top two slots or whatever. So.
I think it comes back to, and you mentioned this earlier, that it really comes down to what is Wizards' business plan or business intent. I mean, is it really to have tournaments as a promotional tool that they want to grow and expand on? Or is that not really where they're focused? I mean, do they want to just focus on sales of the product and, go that route?
I think they want their cake and eat it too. I think they want I think they would like the Pro Tour to be like a huge success without putting any money into it.
Yeah.
And I think you can't really have it. I don't think you can have that. It just doesn't work. So,
yeah, I think that's only. I mean, it seems like Wizards, and if I was Wizards, I'd focus on what makes me the most money. And if that's just selling product, then that's what I'm going to be primarily concerned with.
Yeah. And speaking of selling product, that sort of segues into our next news item.
Well, that just worked out perfectly, didn't it?
Yeah. The next newsworthy item, and this has been talked about on several places. I know Rudy at Alpha Investments talked about this, and I think the Goldfish also has some articles about this. But there's a little bit of a furor sort of building up around Wizards direct selling on Amazon. And, Wizards has essentially come out and said that they will be selling booster boxes directly to Amazon, and they've actually already delivered, I want to say, the first 100,000 boxes of Core 2019 to Amazon. So they've got, pallets of this stuff there.
Wow.
And, it's going to be something. And, Wizards' reasoning is I think the way they put it was to provide cards in a place where people want to buy them. Okay. And basically bringing the cards to the people so that people that don't have an LGS can buy their cards and get them from Amazon. And I don't know if you've ever bought cards on Amazon. I have. And
are you talking individual cards or product?
Most boxes.
Boxes.
Yeah, really sealed product. Yeah. This is how Wizards will be selling it. They'll be selling a sealed product directly to Amazon, bypassing both distributors and local game stores. Mm-hmm. And so, you could easily right now just go to Amazon, type in, Journey to Nick's booster box, and you'll see, reasonable prices for booster boxes. And they're not being directly sold by Wizards. They're being sold by local game stores.
Sure.
on Amazon using an Amazon Seller Central account. So boxes have always been available on Amazon, so it's sort of an unfortunate argument that they make. They say, oh, we just want to bring the product to the people.
Yeah.
Well, the product's already there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's sort of another just straight out money grab for Wizards. They can sort of cut out the middleman and make more money. And I think they're all about the profit, and I think at the expense of the local game store.
Sure.
I think and again, this is a pretty obvious thing to see. So we've had in September the rising cost of booster boxes at the distributor level. So we're already up in the 80s from a cost standpoint for the stores. And Wizards currently has Core 19 booster boxes for sale on Amazon.com for $89.40. It's currently the lowest price by 50 cents. No. Well, imagine if you're the guy if you're the LGS, you're the local game store, and you're buying them for $82 to $84 a box.
Sure.
Shipping that box costs $6 with that's about as cheap as you can ship it. Mm-hmm. So just shipping the box, not even paying any fees, any seller fees, is going to you're actually going to be losing money instantly the moment you sell a box. And that's not even taking into account the 10 to 12% you're going to lose on fees. Whether it's Amazon or eBay or TCG Player, you're going to pay about 10% in fees by the time you're done. So if you're selling a box for $90, take $9 off, you're at $82. Mm-hmm. Take $6 off, you're already at, $76, and you had to pay $84 to get that product. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that isn't sustainable.
No. I guess could you get ahead on that, though, if you buying in quantity and shipping it all at once?
You can, but only to a limited degree. So, essentially the lowest possible cost I think that you're going to be able to buy a box for is $82. It used to be about $75 to $77, and the price is jacked up about $5. So we're talking like low 80s is about as good as it gets. So in order to really profit and sell boxes at $90 and make money, you'd really have to be getting them in the 50s. Your cost of goods sold is going to have to be, you're going to have to be able to mark that up about 40%. Typical retail markup, like if you go into like your average, like a JCPenney's or something like that, sure. They're charging 53% markup on just about everything they sell, and that's pretty much across the board. It's typical for retail. And most anything you buy, you go buy some tires, those tires have been marked up 50%, more than one time, so, the manufacturer is selling that tire for $18 and they're selling it to a distributor or however they're doing that for $36.
Yeah, it hurts to think when the things that you buy have been priced up so extensively by the time they get to you.
Usually about twice, and usually about 50% each time. Yeah. So it's pretty typical.
That still adds up, though.
Yeah, it does. It does. But, that's how business is done. That's how you have the convenience of, having all these things. That's how you go and you go to the grocery store and there's your potato chips, that brand that you want. You pick it right up. There's my Cheetos or whatever. We're paying for that luxury.
And as a consumer, too, looking at boxes, I mean, obviously I'm going to want to pay the cheapest price. So if it's, through eBay, if it's, local game store, if it's on Amazon, I'm going to look around and I'm going to pick which one's the cheapest and most convenient. And if Amazon's it's pretty close in price, wow, Amazon, 2-day delivery, $92 for Journey to Nyx. Maybe I'll just do that.
Yeah, right to my door.
Enough. Yeah, right to my door. I'll get it. It's a pretty competitive price. Hey.
And it saves you the trouble of going into your local game store, which is brutal for the local game store. They really want that foot traffic. Not that they're getting rich selling cards, but just the foot traffic really helps, because while you're there, you may buy some sleeves. And guess what the markup is on sleeves? It's probably 50%.
Yeah,
so,
it's a lot.
They're making, the guy in my LGS says the most profitable item that he sells is water. So he
Yeah,
says that
absolutely.
he'll buy a case of water from Costco for $3, and each bottle of water is costing him 8 cents, and he sells them for $1. People are happy to buy him. The profit margin on that is stellar. So he says he'd love to sell water all day. And it's a really sad state of affairs and I don't know if you've seen this locally, but here in my local game store, they're a great store. They do a really wonderful job. And what they're doing now is opening a cafe. Like literally, like they're expanding, and they're not expanding their play space. They're expanding next door, and they're opening a cafe. So it's going to be like boards and brews. They're going to have beer and coffee and because that's where the money is,
Sure.
But it's a ridiculous state of affairs that you're trying to sell a product, that you're trying to sell a game, and your inability to charge what you need to survive has been so decimated that you can't even sell your core product and make money. That
Exactly. That seems to have really been a critical blow here to the local game stores. I mean, and I think we've mentioned that the game stores, a lot of their profit, I guess in the past, and maybe not so much going forward, that has come from sales of Magic cards.
Yeah, it was always a product that sort of sold itself. They could have some other items in there that may have been higher profit margin, but the money, the income and the outgo, and the ability to move those products and move the Magic products per se, has been the foundation for a lot of these local game stores for honestly for many, many years now. These comic book shops, and a lot of them would carry Magic because it would help them survive. But that seems to be Wizards seems to be strongly moving away from that support, and I think it's really a shame because these guys that are running these local game stores, these guys are not making bank. These guys are not getting rich with these stores. This is like a labor of love, and I think they love games, they love Magic, and I think they should be supported because they're part of the fabric that has promoted and grown this game to the great game that it is. And I think without these guys, the game wouldn't be anywhere, or at least
Absolutely.
it would be dramatically less than it currently is. But it's a real shame, I think, and I'm against the idea of selling direct to the consumer when they've built their entire business model around the local game store. I think it's sort of a stab directly in the back of a lot of these local
it definitely
game stores.
seems like just a slap in the face there for the local game store.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wish it wasn't that way, but if you're a local game store owner, you may need to start looking elsewhere. Start selling more food. Get some Cheetos to sell.
Start sell that water, I guess.
Yeah, sell them. Exactly.
Maybe Magic isn't a thing for you anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame.
That's pretty bad. I guess the one thing to note, though, too, about, you could buy a box of M19, let's say, on Amazon, but you're not going to get, for example, the buy a box promos that would come with that.
That's true. And that's a whole other discussion there. But I think part of the problem with the buy a box promos is the way they've been mishandled by a lot of local game stores. The good ones, they sell them. They'll pocket them, or they'll give out half of the amount they're supposed to, and then sell the rest on eBay. So I think that
there has definitely been a
lot of shady shenanigans there. And the problem is they've almost been forced into a corner to do that, I think, in some cases, because some of these Wizards Play Network exclusive items that used to be bread and butter items, like master sets and Commander and things of that nature, that you used to only be able to get these, the From the Vault series.
From the Vault, that's just that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, you only be able to get those from the LGSs, but now now you can get Masters packs in Walmart, and so I think they're desperate. I don't think they're trying to pocket the sales from these cards to rip the consumer off, although that is the end result. I think they're just desperate for that extra $15 or $10, and they're getting 10 of these things for free or 20 of them, and so they can give 10 out and sell 10. And I think it's a desperation move, and I think that's why it's done. I think realistically, a buy a box promo card should be done the way they do it in other games like Force of Will and these Bushi Road games, where the buy a box promos inside the booster box.
Yeah.
You crack a box of Force of Will.
Oh,
the promo is in the box, so the local game store can't cheat you. But
sure.
But I do think that I think it's a desperation move by the local game stores, the unfortunate ones, to do so. And I think it's the wrong thing to do. I understand why they do it. They shouldn't do it.
So what do you think is going to happen, for example, with from the vault sets? I think, what was it originally, the MSRP for some of those was only $34 or so. Is that now just going to jump up by nature to, higher prices? Because I guess presumably it's going to be on Amazon, right? So, it's not going to go for $34 on Amazon.
I'm not sure if they're going to offer all those products on Amazon. I think at this point it's just booster boxes. So I don't think they're specifically selling all their Wizards Play Network items on Amazon. Those have always been a limited print run item as well, and that's what's caused them.
It looks like Amazon does have from the Vault sets.
I think those are probably from local game store third-party sellers, though.
Maybe.
Because it's only going to be current print run items that Wizards is going to be direct selling.
I guess that's another question. What is the the scope of their product?
Yeah, these from the vaults are
third parties.
Yeah, they are. These are coming from Japan Quality Shop, Game Coma, authorized store US, whatever that means.
Okay.
But so these are already third-party sellers.
We'll have to keep our eye on that and see where this all goes. But
it's just another coffin nail for these poor LGSs.
Absolutely.
But I know we're already kind of going a little bit long. But did you want to hit maybe 2 picks? I think maybe 2 and a bonus pick at this point, and then round it out.
Sure. Let's do that.
So we'll move on to the financial segment.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, so as always, we kind of want to include, and typically toward the end, after some news, our definite picks. So what Magic cards should you be buying? What should you sell? What do we suggest that you go ahead and pick up? So I think today we're going to do 2 picks and then a bonus pick.
Sounds good.
So Devin, you want to go first? And what's your first pick?
Sure. Yeah, and you know what? You said something in your you just mentioned when to buy and when to sell. So far, we've only talked about cards that we're picking up. We're talking about cards we're buying. As time goes by and as we expand the scope, we're going to definitely talk about what to sell, when to sell it, and for what price. And of course, that always depends on what you pick it up for. But it'll be an integral part of what we do, so that people sort of have a sense for when to sell these things. And we're going to go over how to do that as well.
Absolutely. So. Good point. Because it's just as important. Buying this stuff is great, but ultimately you need to sell it if you want to make any money.
That's exactly right. So my first pick of the week is essentially a Commander staple. It is used in just about every single green Commander deck in existence, and that card is Beast Within. So Beast Within is a fantastic card. It does things that green cards don't usually do. It destroys any permanent. So we're talking about enchantments, artifacts, creatures, lands. This destroys anything you want for 3 mana at instant speed. The quote-unquote drawback is they're going to get a 3/3 beast creature token for their trouble, but that is usually sort of a non-issue when you're talking about some brutal enchantment that's got you down. This card always sort of increases in value when it gets printed, and its most recent printing hammered the price. It actually had 2 recent printings, which really helped drop the price dramatically. Relatively recently, at least I can remember, this card was a $3 card.
Sure.
And when I want to say it was New Phyrexia that it originally came out, and
right.
And it's just a great card, but it was recently reprinted in Conspiracy 2, Take the Crown, and that dropped it a bit, and the second printing in Battle Bond really hammered the price on this card, so this card can be had for around 60 cents right now.
Wow, that's great.
It is a great deal, and so I would be picking these up anywhere honestly anywhere below 70 cents, because this is a card that you wait until it gets up to $2 and then you get rid of it. Maybe even $1.80.
Yeah.
But it's used all over the place. Anytime you can play this card, you're going to have this card in your deck if you're green. And it's as simple as that. Great commander staple.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's one of my pick for the week.
Cool. So pick up Beast Within.
Beast Within. That's right.
Nice. When I was taking a look at cards this week, one thing that made me think was the rotation that's coming up. So, if you follow Magic, you know that different cards rotate in and out of play, and particularly in their standard, play style, where only certain sets are played for a given amount of time. So, we're going to have a rotation out of standard, and I think they're doing it now once a year is the rotation out. And with the fall sets, I think it is.
Yeah.
So in this case, we're going to have a rotation out of Kaladesh, Ether Revolt, Amonkhet, and Hour of Devastation.
It's a large group of cards.
That's quite a bit that's
Huge.
going out,
Yeah.
and I assume that's going to take place at the same time as the actual release of the Guilds of Ravnica. So which would be not this weekend, but the following weekend, the first weekend in October.
Okay.
Is when the actual official release is. So keep that in mind here. These things are rotating out, so presumably the prices on these are going to drop down. So I guess
sometimes you'll see a drop, a commensurate drop with the anticipation of them rotating. That usually starts 6 months prior to them actually rotating. So if they're about to rotate, now is probably a really good time to start picking up.
Exactly, yeah. So start looking at some of these cards and thinking about picking them up because this is a great time as they're actually rotating out. And I guess what happens typically then is people who are playing Standard will dump their old cards to pay for the new cards.
That's exactly right.
So they'll probably dump out some of these. So take a look for some of these. So my first pick on here, this card, it's a great card. There's no way around it. Highly used. It's only going to keep being used. You know it as Fatal Push. That card spiked up huge time when it came out, and it's been on a steady decline now. It's still a little high for me. I'd hope it dropped down a little bit more. It hit an all-time high of 975, but and it's on its way down now. But it's an amazing card.
Nice.
I mean, it's an instant for one that destroys a creature, and potentially a creature, an even bigger creature if you can trigger the revolt on that.
Nice.
It's seen, there's
just play it all over Modern.
It's played all over Modern. There's some Standard, Legacy. It's definitely a highly used card, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great black removal. It's an instant kill card for 1 mana for black.
Yeah, that's great.
You can't go wrong with that. I remember I had a play set of these, and I sold them when they spiked, and I made, came back to like $20 or so after that.
Pretty good.
So it was a good turn on that. So Fatal Push definitely is going to be used in the future. No doubt about it.
Nice. I know the Fatal Push was one of those promo cards, the Friday Night Magic promo cards that a lot of stores ended up, again, resorting to the shady selling practices where they were supposed to be handing them out as FNM promos, and then they were so highly sought after that they were selling them for like $10 a piece on eBay and things of that nature.
Exactly. If you can get the promo or you get a foil of it, go for that. But I definitely say it's going to go back up, and it's going to see wide play. Certainly in Modern and everything else.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a great pick. Moving on, I've got another pick that I will admit this is one that so far has actually lost me sort of money on paper, so to speak. I haven't actually sold the card, so I haven't actually lost my money yet.
Still got time.
That's right. But this is a card that is relatively tough to reprint, and it is a Journey into Nyx card. And it is played.
2 Journey to Nyx references in one episode.
Oh, I know, it's crazy. Much maligned,
I would have said pass on that box.
Set. Yeah, that's a for sure on that. But it's a toughie because it's one of these enchantment creatures. It's tough to reprint because it's sort of unique, and those enchantment creatures were somewhat unique to that Theros block, and so it makes them a little tougher to reprint in you wouldn't see that, for example, in Guilds to Ravnica, things of that nature. And it's a card that's played in the Mono Red Burn all the time in Modern, and almost anywhere where Mono Red Burn is played, so even Legacy decks will see this, and it's Eidolon of the Great Revel.
I thought you might be going there.
Yeah, it's a great card. It's a 2-mana 2/2, and anytime a player casts a spell with a converted mana cost of 3 or less, which is probably 80% of all spells in Modern, the Eidolon is going to deal 2 damage to that player. So when you're trying to race their life total down in a Mono Red Burn, this card is fantastic. You know, I've been a buyer of these anywhere below $8, and now, I'm probably sitting on 8 or 10 of these, and so I got a bunch already. But they're now at about $3.50. You can pick these bad boys up for. And the reprint in Masters 25 is what tanked their price so strongly. They were, I want to say, between $8 and $12 prior to that reprinting. Masters 25 has destroyed the value of this Eidolon, and I think now is probably the time to start slowly gathering up your collection for these at $3 and at $3.34, and you're going to probably want between 2 and 4 in your Mono Red Burn. Sure. This is a card that's a great deal right now. I think I could see this going to $8 again after a while, and I think it might take a couple of years of no reprints, but this almost requires a master set to reprint because of its funny border and its funny enchantment creature type. So it's tougher to reprint in like a core set or a theme set. It almost has to pop out in either master sets or maybe even Commander, some funny sets. But great card, a lot of utility. $3.50, tough to go wrong.
Great card, I like it.
Yeah.
So my next pick here, also looking at rotations and things going out. I had my eye on this card for a long time, and I'll be honest, the price has steered me away, and because I didn't jump in on it early on, but now that the prices are on their way down, hopefully, I definitely want to get in on this as soon as I see some nice dropping. I'd like to see it at least, I don't know, definitely under 5 would be my ideal pick. But that is Anointed Procession, the white enchantment from Amonkhet. This card, I like anything that has some sort of effect with counters. And the Anointed Procession is a white version of, Hardened Scales, I think, where if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many tokens instead.
Oh, yeah. The Hardened Scales adds, I want to say, plus some counters. Yeah.
But there's another version of this, though.
Yeah, yep.
I think it's...
it's... I know what you're talking about. It's that Innistrad card.
Wild Pairing or something?
Oh, gosh. I can't think of it, but it has 2 wolves facing away from each other.
Yeah, exactly. I can see. Parallel Life.
That's right. Yep.
Parallel Life. Yeah. So anything I think that has an effect like this, it's doubling tokens. I mean, that's great. I mean, there's so many things with tokens. There's always going to be token creatures. There's always going to be cards creating tokens. There's always going to be these kind of white weenie decks that are going to have, mass tokens. There's always going to be white-green. There's going to be great effects.
Yeah, there's entire decks like black-white tokens.
Absolutely.
Green-white tokens. It's like, this is a great card to produce that effect.
I mean, anything that has these kind of token effects that are doubling tokens, whatever the kind of token, if it's a +1 or otherwise. I mean, look at Hardened Scales. I mean, that was... was very cheap, and that's gone up to, what is it now, 5, 7 or so?
Oh, I'm not even sure. I remember when it was like, oh wow, you're right.
It's gone substantially, and it was less than $1
cents.
card.
Yeah, it was like a 50-cent card.
And I knew at the time that was going to be a golden card, so that's my pick too. I think this nowhere to go but back on up.
Yeah, that's great. That is great. I think you're right about the token generation. It's like, it's a theme that people love. It works in both good decks and also, importantly, casual decks. People love token generation, casuals. So I've got my final pick for the day here is bonus pick. That's right. This one is an oldie but a goodie. This card most recently saw, I want to say, its first reprint in Masters 25. I keep going back to these Masters and Iconic Masters.
You like the Masters.
I do, because I feel like I don't think they're opened as heavily as the other standard packs because of their cost, and I think that they drive costs down, but I don't think they increase the amount of product on the market as much as people think they do. This particular card hasn't been reprinted since, I want to say, 1994, and it's a green card. Again, it's another Commander card. Fantastic card for Commander. It is Regrowth. And Regrowth gives an ability that is an unusual one. It allows any card from your graveyard to be brought back into your hand for 2 mana at sorcery speed. So you're going to bring your best card back, and anywhere where you can play this, you're going to play it. Again, that's probably going to be Commander. This card hasn't seen a reprinting since the 90s. It is now very inexpensive and can be had for about 40 cents. And that's a great deal. It's a great pickup. The other version is, I want to say, revised, and there might have been a Commander printing of it at some point, but this was unlimited and then revised, and I want to say now it's been reprinted once again. But even the damaged versions of these revised cards were, $1.50 kind of thing. And
sure.
And so for 40 cents, I think it's tough to go wrong with Regrowth, and just a great card all around. So that's my bonus pick.
All right, my bonus pick, really quick, because we're about to shut it down here. This is kind of a stretch one, but I like it because it's on the cheap side, and I think prices show that it's going on up again, and I think it just needs the right combination to make it so. Is the Scrap Trawler from Ether Revolt. He's pretty cheap. He's only a 3 mana costing artifact creature with 3/2, but he has kind of a unique graveyard effect about returning artifacts from your graveyard. I think he's got a lot of potential. And there's something way he can get broken that's really going to set him off. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but I think he's definitely going up. And he's pretty cheap at the moment now, only at about $1.76. So if he drops down a little bit more, go for it. I think he's still got nothing to go up on this. Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. Very good.
So I think that wraps up our episode for this week.
I think it does it.
So,
very good.
So going from here, we're going to shut it down, and may all your picks be profitable.
All right.
See you later.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.